Hi, welcome back to my channel. This is Aisha's's Tech Room, and today we're going to talk about what does front-end developers really do. That's right, that's what we're going to talk about, and I'm sure you were wondering, but why are you even talking about that? Well, I am a front-end developer, so I thought maybe if you are someone who is interested in becoming a front-end developer, this might be of help to you and you might learn a thing or two from this. So without wasting much time, let's jump right into it. So before we talk about what we do, what really is a front-end developer? I mean, the term itself. Well, front-end developers basically work with user experience. So in a simple term, what we do is the things that you see in a web application or in a website. So let's talk about buttons, or let's talk about images, or how you would really interact with a web page. That's what we do. So we try to make it as much interactive as possible. That's the job of a front-end developer. So the core is user experience. That's what I would term it basically. Well, some of the things that we do as a front-end developer is usually to work with a language called JavaScript. I would say like a lot of front-end developers work with JavaScript. And of course there are other technologies, but I'm just talking about now. A lot of people use JavaScript in building a web application. Another thing that we work with as a front-end developer is HTML and CSS. So HTML is a markup language and CSS works hand in hand with HTML because CSS is more for styling the application, in making the application look beautiful, colorful, and really very user friendly. Another thing that we work with as a front-end developer is responsive web design. So in that case, it's mostly like you are into making sure that whatever you build is really available in different devices, or we call it like breakpoints. So like if you are using a mobile phone, which like a lot of people nowadays actually access web applications or websites through their mobile phones, or you have to design it in a way where like you use a desktop, like a large computer or an iPad. So responsiveness is quite important when you are building an application as a front-end developer. So we focus on that. If the users use breakpoints like a desktop or large computers, then it's easy for when you are building to focus on that first. But there are other projects that might be interested in building a mobile first app, which is more like maybe their users usually focus on mobile phones. So it really depends on the project. So responsiveness is key for front-end developers because you need to look at what your users want and try to focus on building a responsive web application. Another thing that we do is to work with UX designers, or designers, let's say. So because we build an application and try to make it really interactive, what these UX designers do is to put in place or build how the application should look in, for example, Figma. So they would design everything there. It wouldn't be interactive, but you would see what exactly needs to be on the application. And what we do, we look at Figma, for example, and try to see those designs and try to build the application based on what the UX designer has built. So that's what we do. We work hand in hand with UX designers. And I think that's quite interesting because then you don't have to really focus on to build like how the button size should be, what color should be applied. Another thing that we do is to plan sprints, and what that means is like perhaps a project is focused on agile development, but mind you, not every project work with sprint planning, but of course some projects do, and when I started I have like no clue what that means, but it's more like planning step by step what you need to do to implement a project. Basically to talk about what we need, how estimation should look like, how much time should we spend on doing this, and to talk about technical things in terms of how the logic should be implemented, create cards and stuff like that. That's part of the things that you do when you're doing sprint planning. And of course, when you create cards, you put your name on it, and that means you're responsible for that card, and you have communications between you and the product owner in terms of if you have questions or you're unsure about what needs to be done. So that's quite a journey, and it's a learning experience if you're new in it, but it really depends on which project, and yeah, you can overcome it when you start. Another thing that we do as front-end developers is also doing pull requests, and we work with GitHub basically. So if you have a card and you work with it and you are done with it and you're sure like everything is working, then you push it to GitHub and you send a pull request. In that pull request, you put names of people in the project that you work with for them to review. That means they have to go through what you have done and give you comments or feedbacks, and then you work on that, and then you do another PR right after. Or if everything works well, they will approve it. The project would go into dev, and right after it will be pushed into production. So that's the trend that you take with PR on GitHub. We also do testing. Mind you, not every project have testing, but it's important as front-end developers to test as much as possible when you build an application, just so that you wouldn't be creating bugs, because that's like a nightmare for any developer. Of course, bugs are not irresistible. It's actually, when you develop, sometimes bugs happen, but like that's why testing is important. And if you always have bugs, the product owner might not be super happy with you. So that's why testing is very important to do. Like I said, not every project have that, but it's also quite important to find out tools that are important to apply in order to be able to test whatever you have to do before you send it to production. We also work with, for example, frameworks like Vue that enhance the development of JavaScript. Other people use React, for example. So we use Vue and alongside Vuetify for the design part of it. So it's really nice as a front-end developer to have all those tools available for you to build a beautiful web application. So yeah, those are the things. Oh yeah, okay, there's another thing I forgot to mention that I also work with, which is Google Cloud Platform, GCP, usually to manage databases. But usually I think in my project how we use it is to store data. GCP, it's a really broad thing, and maybe I'm working on something with regards to that, and when that is finalized I might do a video on that. But as of now, in my project, what we do is usually to use it for storage. Yeah, that's what we do, and that's what I do as a front-end developer. And if you have other things that I missed to mention, make sure you share it in the comment section. I'll be really happy to get to have an idea of what you do as a front-end developer. It's a really huge field, and there are so many things other people do maybe that I'm not doing. I'm really looking forward to hearing from you guys as well. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this is helpful. I will see you again in my next video. Bye.